Welcome, everybody. We're excited to see you back. Happy 2022. We'd like to ask you guys, we're going to get started in a couple minutes, but we'd love to ask you to come on camera. You know, Hannah and I always feel a little lonely when it's just us, so we'd love to see your faces if you can. And definitely unmute and say hi. Hi, Elizabeth. Elizabeth is in outer space again. Love it.
Hi, Amy.
How are you? Hi, Sarah. How are you?
I'm not turning on my camera because I'm trying to finish my lunch. Okay.
No worries. No worries.
Sorry.
As you come in, if you can turn on your camera, that's great. If you can't, I understand. You can see on our screen, we have a little warm up before we get started in a couple minutes, which is, did you make a New Year's resolution? And if so, please share it in the chat with us. Hi, Christopher. How are you?
Oh, doing well. How are you?
Good. Nice to see you.
Same here.
So what if you did make a resolution? I know not everybody does. We'd love to hear what it is in the chat, please. And we're going to get started in about 2 minutes. I understand, Christopher. Resolutions can be hard, you know, because if we don't meet our expectations, sometimes we're hard on ourselves. So I call it my New Year's intentions now. Oh, good. Elizabeth says she's going to exercise more. Yep, I'm with you, Elizabeth. Welcome to those of you who are just joining. I want to wish you a Happy New Year and welcome you. If you can turn on your camera, that would be great. We really do, Hannah and I really love to see your faces, and makes us feel kind of closer to you when we can see you. And please share it before we get started in 1 minute. If you did make a New Year's resolution, share it in the chat with us. Let us know. Nice. I love that one, Beth. Open all your junk mail every day and deal with it. Love that. Moving things along, right? The clutter. Right. And Hannah wants you to help her with that. Love it. So welcome, everybody. Hi, Lori. Welcome. If you can turn on your cameras. Hi, Tracy. Hi, Carnice. If you can turn on your cameras, please do. Hi, Nuri. Nice to see you. Happy New Year. We'd love to see your faces. If you cannot turn on your cameras today, maybe unmute and just say hi so we know that you're with us.
Hi.
Hi. Hi, Tracy. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
All right, well, it is time and we want to get started right away because we have a really great webinar 3 planned. So again, on behalf of Hannah and myself and the TCAL and TWC teams, welcome back. We're really happy to see you in 2022, and I loved hearing about some of your resolutions or intentions for the year. Just as a reminder, you guys have seen this before, but we're going to be having our next session after today. We're about halfway through LEA. It's kind of hard to believe, but we're going to be having our next session virtually in February, and a bunch of different activities as we kind of moved into our second half of the academy. Hannah has just posted the link to today's handout. So if you didn't already download them or have them open, please go ahead and do that now so that we can make sure you have the handouts you need to participate. We're also going to be using annotation a bunch today, and I think you guys are annotation experts, but just so we make sure you know how to do it, can you go ahead and go to your drop down menu under view options and click annotate and give me a stamp or a check or anything you want, a drawing on this slide. Great, thanks. I see a star popping up. Anywhere on the slide so I know your annotations work. Nice, I see some hearts. Great, thanks. I see you guys putting some annotations. Is there anybody who cannot annotate or who can't kind of find it or doesn't have that ability on their end? Let us know in the chat, and you can also respond in the chat. Oh, Sarah, you're not sure how. So Sarah, if you go up to view options and you go to the pull down menu, annotate, then you can select a stamp or anything to put a note on the screen. And if that doesn't work, you can just put your answers in the chat and that works too. Awesome, thanks you guys. Hannah, if you could erase those. There you go, Sarah, I see you with your hearts, awesome. Hannah, if you could erase those, that would be great, thanks. All right, so the first thing we want to do is just have a check-in with you. How are you? How are you feeling today? So let's do a quick mood meter. You can use your annotate tool and mark how you're feeling on this slide. Are you feeling optimistic, enthusiastic? Are you sleepy? Where are you on this mood meter? I'm going to give you a minute to go ahead and stamp on how you're feeling right now. All right, I see some coming in. Thank you guys. All right, so I see some of us are in the yellow, kind of feeling energized, hopeful, optimistic, enthusiastic. Maybe we're in the green, we're kind of feeling relaxed. And a few of us are feeling tired, which is completely understandable. These are stressful times, and that's, that's very understood, and worried or concerned, right? So wherever you are on this spectrum, I want to, honor where you are and thank you for sharing. And now that we've sort of been able to express where we are, I hope that you guys feel all in for our next hour together and able to focus, and we really honor your how you're feeling today. So Hannah, please go ahead and erase those. Thanks. So let's just jump in. In our next hour together, we're going to spend a lot of time beginning to conceptualize your improvement project, right? So we're going to review a little bit about what the improvement project is all about, just as a refresh, because we've all been on break. And then we're going to go into breakout groups, and you're going to have the opportunity to share your ideas and get feedback from the group. The second part of our hour, we'll spend kind of looking at how to run an effective meeting and kind of tools for leadership. And then we'll wrap up quickly and talk about next steps. So I'm going to turn this over to Hannah. Hannah, I can click the slides for you if you want to get started.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks, Amy. And could you also help Elizabeth access the handouts in the chat as well?
Will do.
Thank you. Okay. And Amy, I know you said you would share the screen, but I'm just going to go ahead and take it. All right, everyone. So we are going to go ahead and get started with our improvement projects. We asked you to bring 2 possible topics for your improvement projects today and to be prepared to speak to the purpose and rationale for choosing them. So if you wrote that down, please have it handy now. In the last webinar, we talked about what is a project, and I'm going to review that quickly with you. And as I do so, I want you to do a mental checklist to see if the ideas you brought with today have the potential to include all of these components. It's absolutely fine if you don't have these details figured out yet, but what I want you to think about is, will you be able to define these things for either of your project ideas if you decide to move forward with one of them? If you won't be able to, it's probably not the right project at this time. So a project has a set of steps, carefully planned and designed action to achieve a specific target. They include beginning and ending dates. They establish responsibilities. delineate timelines, it uses milestones to track progress, and it may list deliverables. We also discussed the importance of considering the scope of your project in the last webinar. You want to think about whether your project ideas are too big or too small or just right. It's too big if it's outside of your leadership or can't be conducted in a 6-month time frame. But on the other hand, it's too small if you can do it by yourself. Remember, we want you to assemble and lead a team for this project so that you can put your leadership skills into practice. And finally, remember that your project needs to be measurable. Remember that we're going to be using the project template for this work. If you have the template handy, great. If not, Olga just put the link to it in the chat for you. So in just a moment, I'm going to be sending you to your breakout rooms to share your ideas for your projects. And each of you is going to have about 5 minutes to present your 1 to 2 project ideas to your other group members and to get feedback. So for this presentation, we're going to ask you to look at handout number 1. On handout number 1 and on the screen in front of you, you can see the questions that are there to help guide you as you share your project ideas with your breakout room team members. So the first question is, what are your 2 project ideas? Number 2, which one are you leaning toward? Number 3, what outcomes do you hope for as a result of this work? Number 4, what part of the plan or project are you worried about? And number 5, what aspect would you like feedback on? And this last question can be particularly helpful since we have limited time in the breakout rooms today. So you can help point your group members to the area that you want to focus on during that short discussion time that we have. Let me give you a quick example of what sharing your project ideas will look like in breakout rooms. So let's pretend that I'm presenting my ideas to my group. My 2 ideas are, first, to form a curriculum alignment group to work on aligning our highest level classes, meaning our HSE and our ESL classes, with post-secondary education and first-year college readiness. That's my first idea. Or my second idea is a process for training staff and teachers to offer engaging remote services and learning. I'm leaning toward forming a curriculum alignment group to work on aligning our highest level classes. I'm hoping to get teachers from the high level classes and college and our PD specialists to work together on curriculum alignment, but I'm worried about how to approach them to make it seem worth their while so they won't see this as just another thing to do when we all have so much going on. And finally, I'd like to get some feedback on how to present this project to the other teachers to get their buy-in. So once you've shared your idea with your group members, then it's their turn to give you some feedback. And as you listen to your partners, you're going to want to think about these 3 questions in order to do that, to be able to give feedback and offer meaningful advice. So the first is the idea achievable? The second is it measurable, or how can it be measured? And the third is, what suggestions do you have? And remember, this is also a good place to focus on what they requested in terms of feedback as well. So we're going to send you to breakout rooms, and you're going to have about 16 minutes in your room, which means that each presenter gets about 5 minutes. And in that 5 minutes, you'll have 2 minutes to present and to receive. You'll have 5 minutes total, but about 2 minutes to present and about 2 minutes to feedback. I know that that's not quite 5, but you want to make sure you save time for both. You'll have a staff facilitator in your room to keep everyone on time and make sure everyone has a chance to speak. And you are going to use handout 1 as you share your ideas. So does everyone have their handout handy and your project ideas? Can you give me a thumbs up that you are ready to go? Okay. All right, Elizabeth needs help gathering those things. Elizabeth, if you want to hang out in the main room, I can help you find those things if you don't have the handout yet. But otherwise, I'm going to go ahead and open the rooms for everybody. Okay. Is everyone in? Yes. Okay. And Olga went. Good. Okay, I think everyone's in a room, and let me make sure.
Did we get Elizabeth?
Yeah,
She there?
Elizabeth looks like she went into room 2 already. So
Can you pop me into room 2? I don't have the breakouts for some reason.
sure. Yep, no problem.
Thank you.
And I want to make sure we have a facilitator in each. Beth, Olga. Okay, I think we're okay. There are 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Room 3 is, no, they're all here. Okay, great. You're muted, Amy.
So room 2 has 2 people and rooms 1 and 3 have 3 people.
Yeah, do we know who's missing today?
Let me take a quick look. So let's see, on the ILEA list, we have Christopher, Nuri, Sarah, Elizabeth, Carnice, Randall, Oscar, Heidi, and Tracy. Is that everybody?
Can you read it one more time?
Christopher, Nuri, Sarah, Elizabeth, Carnice, Randall, Oscar, Heidi, and Tracy.
I think it's Randall.
Okay. Yeah, okay. Alrighty, I'm gonna run quickly to the ladies' room if that's okay, Hannah, and then I'll jump into a breakout.
That sounds good. And
Okay.
then you'll share your
my screen. Yep.
Perfect. Hi, Randall.
Hello.
How are you?
A little bit under the weather, but okay.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. I hope you feel better. Thanks for joining, even though you're not at the peak of your health right now.
No problem.
The participants are in breakout rooms right now. I'm going to go ahead and put you in one of the breakout rooms. They are sharing their project ideas and giving each other feedback.
Okay.
Okay, and do you have the handouts, Randall?
Honestly, no, I do not.
Okay, let me give you the link to those. The first one I'm going to give you is going in the chat. The first one is the improvement project template. And then I'll put the handout link in there as well. Okay, here comes the handout link. Did those work for you?
Yes.
Okay. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and put you in room number 2 then, okay?
Okay.
Okay. Did you get the button, Randall, to move to the breakout room?
Hey, Hannah. How's it
Hey.
going in there?
Good. Elizabeth was presenting. I went in initially because one of the facilitators said that Elizabeth didn't have audio, but it all seemed to be okay when I went in. So hopefully all is okay. And no one has said anything about not having enough time today.
Good. Olga's using a timer, so she's keeping people on it.
Nice. I have to figure out how I can see Zoom and the PowerPoint if I'm not sharing.
Can you see my PowerPoint?
Yeah, but I mean, for the notes. Okay, I think we're okay.
How are we doing on time?
Just a couple minutes remaining. Gonna send one more time reminder in a minute.
Elizabeth seems to have like some tech issues overall.
Has this happened before?
Well, she couldn't seem to access any of the links in Moodle, and she couldn't
Oh.
get her annotation kind of working either. So
She
I'm
was
not,
the one who was having the the link access issues today. You mean
yeah,
too?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. It may be that like her systems aren't integrated,
Yeah.
but
Or I wonder if it's just a weird technology day. I don't remember. Did she have issues during the full day training, or was she okay?
I don't know.
Okay, let me send a reminder. I always forget. I don't like doing webinars in contacts. It hurts my eyes.
Yeah, the
I meant to,
screen.
yeah, I meant to switch to glasses, but I ran out of time. Okay, I'm going to close the rooms. They have 30 seconds to come back, so it'll take them, oh, they have 60 seconds to come back, so it'll take
And
just
you
a
didn't
moment.
hear from anybody that they need more time.
Nope.
All righty. Oops, I have to share again. Sorry.
That's okay. And don't forget to check your annotate too.
Seems to be on.
Oh, they just asked for 2 more minutes, but the rooms are closing.
No,
What should I do? Send them back or no?
no.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Welcome back. I know time was short there, but we hope that it gave you the opportunity to start to share with your colleagues. This is not the end of that sharing. It was just our initial discussion. And we'd like to continue the discussion now a little bit as a whole group so we can get a sense of what you all are leaning toward with your projects. So in the chat, I'm going to invite you to share the project idea that you're leaning towards, as well as the second question, how have you adjusted your project thinking today? So go ahead and take a moment and type your answer into the chat. And Heidi, sounds like your group didn't have quite enough time to get through, so we'd especially love to see your idea in the chat too. And Randall as well.
She had us on a timer. She was on it.
Okay, Randall says digital literacy. Carney says an online learning platform for instructors and students. I'd love to see a couple more ideas in the chat. Nuri says bridge classes for ESL students who transition to GED. Tracy, mentorship for new instructors. And Sarah is working on workplace literacy, and you got clarification needed about contracts. Great. Christopher, it's a research project to identify the characteristics of a model participant who has made a measurable skill gain on a progress test. The plan would be shared with other teachers. All right, I can see lots of ideas coming in. As you type your ideas, I encourage you to go through and look at your colleagues' ideas as well. You might see some ideas for directions you want to swing or build your project. If you're feeling a little bit stuck, you might see people that you want to reach out to and collaborate with or talk through some ideas. So make sure that you're reading through these ideas in the chat. And thanks everyone for sharing those. Amy, can you go to the next slide, please? So we hope that this has helped you settle on a topic idea or get closer to settling on a topic idea. After today, we are going to have more time to talk about our project. So don't worry, this isn't it. I know time was short, but we will be coming back to it and spending more time talking about these things. So for your next steps, we want you to choose your project title, create a SMART goal. Think about your data. What are you going to need to collect both before and after meeting? You want to think about forming your project team and think about how you're going to share with others the results from this work. So you're going to start working on some of those details for your project plans. And to help you with this, we have a sample project plan. Amy, can you click on the next slide, please? Thank you. And this is in the Moodle for you already. You may have seen it, but we hope that if this helps you to go ahead and take a look, it might help generate an idea for what this process looks like or how you might be thinking through some details. So again, feel free to consult this if it helps you with your own thinking. Next slide, please. So our project timeline coming up, we have some important dates. The first is that you're going to complete your project planning assignment and post it in the portal by January 21st. That's coming up. Then you're going to be creating 3 slides on your project to share in a small group webinar in February. The first slide will address the challenge. The second slide will address the plan, and the third slide will address the evaluation for the plan. And you're going to be posting those slides in the portal by February 11th. Then your final project PowerPoint will be due on April 8th, and you'll be presenting your final projects on April 22nd. So you don't need to memorize these dates. We will post them in the portal, and Olga put them in the chat for you as well. But we wanted to give you a sense of where you're going and also to keep your eye on these dates because those January and February dates are coming up really soon. And with that, I am going to hand it over to Amy, who is going to talk about running a meeting.
Thanks, Hannah. I love seeing all those creative project ideas and also the synergy between a lot of them. So as Hannah said, as you looked at what other people were doing, think about networking and who you want to reach out to share resources or talk about ideas for sure. There's a lot of overlap between the work that you all are thinking about doing in terms of creating improvements at your agency. So a big part, obviously, of the improvement project for you is leading a team to make that change and practicing your leadership skills that you all have and that you're strengthening and developing as part of the academy. And of course, we imagine that you'll be meetings are a fact of work life and that you'll certainly need to run at least one meeting, probably several, as you develop and implement your improvement project. So this next section really focuses on some best practices for getting the most out of your meetings, and we hope that it will provide you with some useful tools and resources. So first, just to get a sense of how central meetings are as a form of communication for you in your own workplace, I'd like to know how much time you spend in meetings. So let's use the annotation feature to place a check or a stamp on this line indicating the frequency of time that you spend in meetings. So on the left, are you in meetings at least a few hours every day, whether they be in person or virtual, or moving to the middle, maybe just a few hours a week, or all the way to the right, you don't really go to meetings that often. That's not really how you spend a lot of your work time. So I'm going to give you all a minute to place yourself on the continuum. And if for whatever reason your annotate's not working, you can put your answer in the chat. All right, I see them coming in. Okay, so it looks like we're kind of across the spectrum here. Some of us are spending a lot of hours every day in meetings. Most of us, it looks like, are doing some meetings every week, at least a few hours every week, and then a few of us maybe a little bit less. But we're all spending time in meetings, that's for sure. And that it's kind of a prominent part of how we spend part of our work day or our work week, it seems. So thank you for that. So Hannah, if you could erase those annotations, that would be great. Thank you. So now I want to pivot and ask a different question, which is, how do you feel about most of those meetings, right? So I want you to place a check or a stamp on the pictures. You can choose more than one that indicate how you usually feel about most of those meetings that you're going to. So are you like the first picture where you want meetings to stop and you feel like they're a waste of time? Or maybe like the second picture, the woman in the middle, that you really are happy and you love being in meetings and you're happy to be there. Or perhaps you're like the t-shirt and you feel like a lot of those meetings could have been an email. Or on the bottom, maybe you're like the woman on the bottom and you're confused about what got accomplished and what you're supposed to do next. So basically, how did me attending that meeting relate to my work specifically, and what do I need to do as I leave there? Or that last picture, you know, I'm a dog lover, you all know, of maybe you feel sleepy or checked out in most of your meetings. So let me know, you can click on all or just one of them. How do you feel usually about most of the meetings that you attend? Okay, I see stuff coming in. A lot of you are happy about being in your meetings, which is awesome. Some of you feel like they're maybe a waste of time. And a lot of you, it seems, are feeling like, you know, maybe that could have been an email. So I really appreciate your honesty here. And some of you are sleepy or, you know, confused about what am I supposed to do? We had that meeting. What did we accomplish? So thank you guys for sharing that. Meetings can be productive or they can be dreadful or boring, right? As evidenced by your comments, unfortunately, a lot of us feel that maybe our meetings aren't as productive as they could be. And in fact, we can also often feel like we're wasting our times, or that maybe we don't see how the agenda relates to our work, or that sometimes in meetings, our discussions feel circular, right? That we keep rehashing the same stuff and we're not kind of moving to action and decision making. So meetings are a costly form of communication for organizations, right? Time is precious and resources are precious, and getting lots of folks together can be expensive. So given how we can often feel about meetings, you may be thinking, well, you know, why do we need so many meetings, right? Or why are meetings, if they're expensive and we feel often not happy about them, why do we need them? So I just want to kind of focus a little bit on that meetings are and do serve a vital role and purpose within our organizations. And they're really an important tool for leaders in advancing innovative work and problem solving and building your project team. So when we run effective meetings, right, we can accomplish many overlapping goals. And here's a list of kind of what some of the goals behind and purpose behind having meetings are for you as a leader and within your organization, right? So to help us exchange and develop ideas, to help our group plan, to solve problems and make decisions, to create and develop shared understanding. And that certainly goes to kind of that shared sense of mission and goal that we've talked about around the role of a leader, to encourage enthusiasm and initiative and build that team spirit and camaraderie, to provide a sense of direction and a sense of common purpose. So meetings can be really important, especially as we're moving to design and implement our improvement project ideas as part of LEA with your teams. So effective meetings are really all about planning, and I find it's kind of helpful for me to think about meeting planning in 3 stages. What do we do before the meeting? What kinds of things are we doing at the meeting to help make it the most effective and engaging? And then what do I do after the meeting to make sure that the time that we've used at the meeting is followed up on well? So let's look first at kind of what planning is involved, or what you want to be doing before your meeting. And I really want you to think about this in terms of your improvement project and your improvement project team, right? So as a leader of that improvement project team, you're going to need to consider, what's the purpose of this meeting? Every meeting needs to have a purpose, as well as some defined outcomes for what you are trying to achieve in that specific meeting. It's really hard to run an effective meeting unless everyone that's there is clear on why they're there and what you're hoping to get to, or what the outcomes or the end result of that time together is going to be. So you're going to want to have to think about why you're having this meeting, so that you can craft an agenda and help everyone stay focused and contribute. So obviously, we've all been to a lot of meetings, and it's important to have an agenda that you prepare in advance and send in advance, so folks know what they're doing, why they're there, and they have all the details. And also, you need to think about who needs to be there, right? So getting the right group in the room is key to that meeting success. And thinking about what preparation I need to do beforehand. So what information do people need before we get there? Right. So as much as possible, you want to use your meeting time for discussion and decision making, rather than presenting information or just downloading information. So since knowing and communicating a meeting's purpose in advance is so important, let's take a minute to consider how you determine a meeting's purpose, right? So meetings have different purposes and they can be overlapping, right? So some of it too is inform or update participants, often via a presentation, or to promote discussion in order to understand an issue more deeply and reach a decision. And certainly meetings are about promoting action, right? Sometimes the meeting is even that action, meaning it's a working meeting. And also in terms of building relationships and team spirit and collaboration, we want to use meetings often to promote that collaboration and to relate to one another. So as you think about your improvement project and your need to call your improvement team together, whether it be virtually or in person, you want to kind of think about, what is the purpose of that meeting? So let's think about that for a minute. We're going to use annotate again. As you think about that improvement project planning work you're going to do with your team, what would be the purpose of your next meeting? Some of you may have already met with your team. Some of you may be just thinking about your new team. So looking at this, let's use annotate to think about, what is the purpose of your next improvement project team meeting? Is it a new initiative and you want to tap group thinking and generate enthusiasm and a common sense of purpose? Is the goal of the meeting to build a new team? Are you all working together for the first time and you want to create camaraderie? Does your project have a lot of variables and you're trying to get everybody on the same page quickly? Or is it a complex issue and you really need to move to solutions, discussions, and thinking? So go ahead on the box on the right and go ahead and use your annotate stamp or check, and you can pick more than one here. So what is the purpose, do you think, for your next improvement project team meeting that you're going to be leading? I see some coming in. I'm going to give you a chance. You can pick more than one. What do you think the purpose is? Elizabeth says in the chat 1 and 3. Thanks, Elizabeth. So you want to introduce the initiative and generate enthusiasm and create a kind of shared purpose, and also maybe start to dig into some of those variables to get everybody on the same page. And I see a lot of you are checking 1 and 3 also. And some of you are looking at the meeting as a way also to build team spirit and camaraderie. So that's excellent. Thank you all for that. And so I hope that this kind of helped you think about, what are some of your goals and the purpose for your next improvement project meeting with your team. All right, so along those lines, and that idea about like, could this have been an email? Should this be an email, or do we need a meeting? I think it's helpful to think about EPIC when deciding like what form of communication might be best. And so I just want to kind of give you this kind of thinking, this tool of EPIC. So as you think, should this be a meeting or should this be an email? A couple things is if it's a loaded issue, meaning if it's potentially an emotional topic or kind of a hot topic, a loaded topic, email might not be best, right? So how many times have you guys been part of an email or even sent a group email to 5 or 6 people, and then it started a chain of 30 replies because it kind of like triggered some folks to feel passionate or to try to weigh in on the discussion. And if that's happening, if you're sending emails and a lot of people have strong thoughts or weighing in strongly, it may be the time to have a meeting on this topic, or a good time for that, so that you're not sort of, having a loaded issue discussion via email. You want to think about, in terms of purpose, what will be different as a result of that meeting, right? So remember, meetings help us discuss, decide, and act and relate in a way that email can't. So if it's a straightforward task or kind of an update, an email is great. But if you're really looking to make decisions and to help people relate as a team and work together differently, meetings are probably the best route instead of an email. In terms of like thinking about, should it be a meeting or email, if you're looking again to build the relationship among your team, that especially if you've never worked together before and you need to build trust, meetings are really helpful to do that, right? And also this idea that if you're tackling complex issues and you need the group for solution thinking and to coordinate complex processes, emails it's harder to tap the group thinking and kind of have solution thinking than just having an email. So as you plan for the meeting, another thing you're focusing on is who needs to attend, right? And you want to think about who are those decision makers and stakeholders that you need to inform the conversation and help make decisions or kind of come to solutions. It isn't necessarily the bosses always, right? So in fact, sometimes your boss's presence can stifle open conversation, right? Because folks sometimes will defer to them. So what you want to think about is who will be impacted by the decisions being made and who has the skill set or the technical knowledge that you need to move your improvement project forward and to do that solutions-based thinking. So you might need to think bigger picture sometimes across departments or functional areas. If this change or the improvement you're thinking about is going to impact work in other areas as well. Certainly you want to aim for the right size. Common wisdom is that right now is that around 8 people or less is a good size for meetings so that you can make sure all voices are heard and work gets done. And that if you have bigger than that, it's kind of hard to arrive at decisions or make sure that everybody is able to contribute meaningfully to the discussion. And you certainly want to prepare participants in advance, right? They want to understand why they're being invited to the meeting and have any background that they need to do, reading or otherwise, before they get to the meeting to review. We have all, because we're all professionals, we've been part of a lot of meetings, and usually you'll have an agenda beforehand. And certainly as meeting leaders, you're going to want to create and distribute that. And usually what you want to do on an agenda is not just provide a list of discussion points or updates, but really think about the purpose and objective. Research shows that after 45 minutes, people start to lose focus. So try to keep your meeting short, about an hour. And there's lots of ways to do agendas, but I wanted to share this with you because I feel like this meeting agenda, which is also on handout 2, there's a blank template for you and a sample. I find this framework helpful. So we're going to do welcomes and introductions, right? Make sure everybody knows each other. You can do a light icebreaker, kind of like what we did today, a mood meter or a little warm up, a talk and turn, anything to make people feel comfortable, make sure they know who's in the room. You want to share the purpose for your meeting, do a quick overview of what you're going to be covering. Again, doing a warm up or icebreaker is always helpful. And then there's usually a part of the meeting which is about presentations or updates, but be careful about how much time you spend on informational agenda items, right? Remember that you really want to use this time for discussion and decision making and determining action and next steps. So if it's informational or updates, maybe it is better as an email or to send before you get to the meeting. All right. So let's pivot and look and think a little bit about what you do at the meeting, right? So like, how do you make sure that your time is effective and that, you know, you have a participatory, engaged, and kind of effective meeting in the time that you have together. So you want to arrive early and start on time, right? So if you're running a virtual meeting, you want to get your tech ready, right? So or if you're in person, you make sure you have your supplies on hand, that your presentation is working, and certainly don't reward the latecomers. Start and end on time. Energize folks and make them feel comfortable, like when you get there, through quick icebreakers. And you want to use tools to keep the meeting on track, right? Whether that be like things like establishing meeting norms, which we're going to talk about for a minute, so people know what the expectations are and how they're supposed to participate, or using a timer, which I know some of our facilitators did today, or even like a parking lot, right? Which is a big sheet of paper or a note where if people are asking questions or making points that are off topic, you're recording them there to make sure that, you know, it doesn't get lost or their voice isn't heard, but you're not letting it take away from the focus of your agenda. You're going to definitely want to ensure full participation, you know, and there are ideas about that. I'd love to hear from some of you. What ideas do you have for encouraging full participation? What have you seen people do in meetings that helps folks? I'd love to hear some ideas if you have them in the chat, or you could unmute. Call on them, Elizabeth says. Yeah, right. So I love that, Elizabeth. Call people out by name. Say, hey, Nuri, what are you thinking? What ideas do you have to encourage participation in the chat? So that's great. Other ideas for encouraging participation, full participation in a meeting?
I would say ask their opinion, see, so that they'll have the buy-in.
Yep.
They can buy into it, and the fact that you're actually listening to what they're saying.
Right. So solicit directly input. Absolutely. Some other ideas just is, to encourage people to sit side by side or at a round table, right? Like instead of maybe with backs to each other. You could do a pair up discussion, right? So you're asking a question of the group, and rather than kind of talking in a big group, you do a talk and turn and you say, talk to the person to your right and discuss this first, right? You could do like a Google Jamboard, right? Like we've done kind of in here in the training, where you ask everybody to put their thoughts first so that you can hear from everybody. And also, obviously, you can do that kind of Jamboard stickies on big white paper if you're in person. And like you guys have talked about, inviting maybe the quiet ones to speak, right? So the other key to the meeting is taking minutes, right, that you can send and summarizing your action items. So you want to make sure when people leave, they know what's the next step and who's doing what and by when, right? Otherwise, what happens? You get to the next meeting and maybe things haven't advanced because people weren't clear about who was responsible for what and when. And certainly you want to end on time. So just really quickly, we asked you to read 2 articles on running effective meetings. One of them was Advance Your Meeting Conversation with Norms. Norms are basically the ground rules for how a team collaborates, and they can really help you as you establish a new working group so that every member of your improvement project group understands how you want them to act and interact with others on the team when you're together. So I'd like to ask you, thank you, Olga just posted the link to that meeting. I'd like to ask you just to take a minute or two to look through that article. I know you already read it for homework, and circle a couple of the norms that really stand out for you and that you might like to use as a meeting norm with your improvement project group moving forward. So I'm going to be quiet for a minute and let you all do that. And if you don't have a printout, you can just open it on your computer and take a few notes to yourself on which norms you might like to use with your team as you lead your improvement project team. When you have one that stands out for you, one norm that you really love or that you really want to try, go ahead and post it in the chat. Tell us what norm you want to try. Great. Oscar says, be concise and to the point. Oscar, I can work on that one myself for sure. Christopher says, challenge past assumptions and sacred cows. I love that one, right? Like, don't get stuck. I've heard some people call it stinking thinking, like we tried that, we always do it this way. And kind of saying, well, okay, why do we always do it this way? Or is that the best way to do it? Or we tried that, but maybe we need to rethink it, right? What is a bio break? That means a break to go to the bathroom, Carnice. Or do some, take a moment for yourself. Nuri says meeting material and agenda should be sent 24 hours before a meeting. Yep. Great, Nuri, to help people prepare and kind of be ready, right? Sarah says only one conversation at a time. Heidi, everyone is responsible for helping stay on topic, and also the sacred cows, right? Share celebrations and challenges. Yeah, Randall, thank you. I think that's really important, right? That we focus a lot on what's not working, but focusing on what is part of a leader's job, and uplifting the good stuff, right? Building on the other ideas, use yes and avoid no, but, and make sure everyone's voice is heard. Yep, these are great, guys. Thank you so much. These are awesome. So take that into your head as you plan your next improvement project meeting. And just quickly after the meeting, you definitely want to send some brief minutes. And I would say the most important part of that is those action items. What did you decide to do? Who's doing it and by when, So make sure people know that's kind of the accountability piece of leadership. Also, you're going to need to follow up with individuals, right? Just because we've kind of said, okay, we're all doing this, as a leader, you're going to want to check in. How are you doing? Do you need my support? Are you on target? And do you need any resources to get your piece of the work done, right? So that when you come back together as a team again, people have made progress and they've felt supported by you. Handout 6 in your packet is just a summary of kind of a little checklist of everything we just reviewed. So you can use this to help you as you plan your next leadership meetings, your improvement leadership meetings, kind of keep track of all the steps and stages. So in our last couple minutes together, I just want to talk about what's going to happen next. And Hannah shared some of this already. You're going to post your project plan draft in the portal by January 21st. And we're going to have a small group meeting to share those 3 slides that you're submitting on February 11th on February 18th, so that we'll be talking much more in depth and concretely about your improvement project plan using that PowerPoint when we meet again. We're going to get back together on February 3rd and 4th for our training, and you'll be doing some pre-reading to get ready for that. And that finally, just a reminder that there are 2 Precipio assignments. One was due on the 31st, and I think Deb wanted to say something about Precipio. Deb?
Wow, that was quick. Thank you. I just wanted to share with you guys really quick, if I could, if somebody can make me a co-host, thank you. Just a moment. We are going to screen 2. That what I've done is gone in and added all the assignments in Precipio as an assignment. I thought this year I would do it differently, and that didn't work because a lot of you got confused. There's a lot of leadership stuff in there, and there's a lot of emotional intelligence and a lot of different paths. So what I did was I went in, most of you have completed the assignments. I went ahead and just entered an end date for the December 31 stuff to the 15th of January, just to give people some more time to kind of get into it. And then I went ahead and added the assignments that are due February 28th. So I'll put this in the community of practice as well. I'll put a posting saying this, and you should have gotten 2 emails from trainpd@tcall. That's where the emails come from when they come from Precipio. Let me know if your page doesn't look like, don't worry about this stuff. This is personal. Yours might be different. This is what I've, explored and stuff. But under the My Assignments, this is what you all should have. That's it for me. Just wanted to share that.
That's great, Deb. And Tracy says she loves the Precipio site and wants to know how long they're going to have access to it for whatever they want to do in there.
Well, it depends. Right now, it's through the end of the grant period, which is May 31.
Great.
So
thanks so much,
we might
Deb.
can extend it. Yep.
That's awesome. So we are at time. We're going to see you all on again on February 3rd. And I want to encourage you to complete the evaluation for today in the portal. The link to it will be in your portal. And it was wonderful seeing you all. We wish you a really happy new year and a wonderful weekend.